Yeah, we got lots to say.
Hey everybody, welcome and happy birthday to my wife. It is not my wife's birthday, but last night we were laying in the bed. She was feeding the baby, and I get a text from Matt. And he's like, "Hey, tell your wife happy birthday." You're a thoughtful guy. I mean, you're
trying to be thoughtful.
You were wrong. I mean, you're wrong by like 3 months.
I was wrong, way wrong.
And I thought I was missing something, some kind of joke. And I said, "Caitlin, did you say anywhere it was your birthday?" She was like, "No, birthday's in January." I said, "Okay." She goes, "Why?" I said, "Because Cassel's like, tell Caitlin happy birthday." She goes, "That's very sweet. It ain't my birthday." And so I replied back and I said, "No, not her birthday. How did you hear that?" "How did your mom tell you it was my wife's birthday?"
So I got a text message. I'm dropping off the kids, and it's from my mom, and she had done the voice, right? The voice text. So it came out cluttered and unreadable, but I made out maybe it was something Bobby Bones, wife, birthday, just a heads up type deal.
It was like a Mother's Day something?
I have no idea. So she sends this, and I had it on so then I wrote it down, making sure that I send well wishes and happy birthday, trying to be the nice guy. I send it over and you send it back and you're like, "Dude, it's in January. Like, what are you talking about?" And so I'm like, oh my God. I was like, never trusting my mom again, this, that, and the other.
Where would your mom have even seen that? Like, what if
she said it came up on her feed. So after that exchange that we had where I'm sitting there going, well, and then I thought maybe it's your birthday. Look it up. Not your birthday either. So I was
few
like,
weeks ago.
Few weeks ago.
Yeah.
But few weeks ago is a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
3 months ago is a whole nother thing. And she goes, "There was something that came up on my feed, and Caitlin was wishing Bobby happy birthday or something." So she meant to say that it was your birthday. So I was like, "Mom, you know that sometimes on Instagram these feeds will roll back, right, in time."
It wasn't chronological feed.
It wasn't a chronological feed, so it wasn't the most recent feed. So she, being a good mother, texts me, "Hey, make sure that you know that it's Bobby." I think she meant to say it was your birthday, not your wife's. And through that whole text chain, I just sent the text being confident that it was. But just so you know,
I accept the birthday wishes from your mom. 3 weeks late. That is tricky sometimes, though, because I'll see Arkansas just signed a new basketball recruit, and I'm like, "Oh, let's go. Who is it today?" But I was like, "Oh, I already saw that one like a month ago." And it's literally from a month ago.
Right, exactly. So it was just a misunderstanding probably on my side. I should have done maybe a little bit more research to make sure that I'm sending it on the right date. But I just want to be a nice guy, you know? I want to reach out, make sure people feel special on their special day. That's the type of person I am.
That is the type of person you are. But I think about me getting fooled. I think at number 3, it's when the feed is not chronological, obviously, and sometimes I'll be date confused. I think at number 2, a really good AI video can make me second guess. It's hard to fool me because I use a lot of AI to create myself, but a really good one will have me questioning or going to like search for a second source. So that's the second way I get fooled.
The AI stuff messes with me. I'll send videos to my wife. "Check this video out." It could be of a flood of a town. It could be of a hippo.
A dinosaur.
Dude, the hippo crapping on a leopard's face. It's biting him, and then the leopard's throwing up over here. I was like, gosh, this is awesome. Look at Mother Nature protecting hippos with their ass. I mean, it's some of those, and I'll just send it off, and she's like, "Matt, that's AI." I was like, okay, well, I thought it was still pretty cool. They do some amazing stuff with AI these days.
We were talking about before we started recording that we were talking about bunkers because we had tornadoes near us last night. And so the conversation was, storm, tornado, and shelters. And, in Tennessee, there are no basements.
Right. It's crazy.
Because the ground is so hard, so rocky.
Yeah.
So in other places I've lived, there have been basements.
Yeah, when I was in Kansas City, everybody had a basement. Deservedly so.
So there's no basement. It's hard to get underground for any sort of tornado. And I'd seen these cool videos because I would love a bunker. That would be like the thing if it was.
I think that you'd spend more time in a bunker than you do actually do your house, even on a sunny day.
Probably so. Well, now, if I didn't have a wife and a kid, absolutely. Because before I met my wife, I never came out of my room.
Yeah, you're like, I'm good.
Like I can finally afford it, like a nice house. I never left my room. But they have these videos where they'll dig this massive hole with a backhoe and they'll take and drop an old airplane that's no longer being used in the hole. Then they'll cover it up, but that airplane is used as a bunker. Those are sick.
Those are pretty sick.
Yeah, those are awesome.
I mean, all those ones that they generate, even the AI ones, like you said, they come and dig this massive hole and then they're laying these concrete it's almost like a tunnel and then a walkway, and then they've got their food source. And I'm sitting there going, man, that is very elaborate. Like somebody
how much
had
does
to-
that cost?
Yeah, it looked like the Pentagon, dude. I was like, what in the hell?
Number one way I get fooled is probably NBA Sentinel. Do you guys get Sentinel fooled? Sentinel?
that?
Sentinel.
Yeah, what's that?
So I believe the real Twitter account is NBA Central, but Sentinel is one letter off, and it's all like really things that didn't happen, parodies, and sometimes because that one letter is off, it gets reported as true.
Right. They're looking at it going, oh yeah, this has got to be true. It's NBA Central.
Because and it's literally Sentinel though, so it's NBA Sentinel. It's obviously a parody account, but people, again, it looks so real that people start reporting it as real. So that's probably where I get fooled the most because I don't see the one letter in Central and Sentinel. So yeah, here we are.
I just take everything for what it's worth. And then if somebody tells me it's fake, I'm like, all right, that's great. So I'm an idiot. Kind of like a birthday.
Like one I pulled up, Jalen Duren was reportedly playing through his ex on his mind per Chris B. Hain.
Crispy.
So it's a picture of him. And instead of the injury, it's like he's currently playing through his ex on his mind.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of.
There's a lot
So
of those.
clever.
If you get sentineled, that means you got fooled. That's kind of that terminology. So hey, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Whenever you were called, so you were drafted where?
7th round.
When you got a call, who called you?
So the first person that called me was I got on the phone with Coach. Actually, it was Bears. Bears was his assistant, like his main right-hand guy.
Belichick's assistant?
Belichick's assistant, and said, "Hey, Matt, I've got Coach Belichick here." And I was like, "What?" Like I thought it was a joke. And he said, "Hey, Matt, Coach Belichick here. I just want to tell you, congratulations. You're going to be a New England Patriot. We're drafting you next in the NFL draft." And I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" Because I mean, my chances of getting drafted were pretty slim. Not starting a game in college at the quarterback position. My junior year, I was playing tight end for God's sakes and blocking on special teams. So I was just trying to hope to get into camp. But the New England Patriots were just coming off their third Super Bowl in 4 years, and I get a call from Coach Belichick, which I hadn't had a private workout. They hadn't come out and sat me down or anything like that. Not to say that there was a lot of teams that did that. There's probably 5 or 6 teams that I actually did have a private workout for, but he calls, he says that, welcome to the New England Patriots, and my heart just lit up with joy, dude. I mean, there's no better feeling when there's so much uncertainty, especially because I was getting to the stage of, okay, I got to make a serious life decision in free agency here of a good fit, somebody that might give me an opportunity. But they took all that guesswork out because they went ahead and drafted me. And so I went in, they said, please hold, because Nancy Meyer's going to get on the phone. She's going to tell you, what we're going to do here and when the rookie minicamp is and this, that, and the other. And I was just like fired up. So I went in, Lauren, my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, standing up, sitting there, opening something, reading it. I said, look at the board. She's like, you haven't come up yet. And I was like, watch the board. And then the ticker came across. And that was the coolest thing ever. Like the ticker, Matt Cassel, QB. And, the commentators had no idea. Matt Cassel's thrown 32 passes, and I don't really know. We don't really have any draft composition for this guy. Couldn't really tell you anything about him. Like, haven't really seen him in a game. So it was wild.
Did you expect your phone to ring? Did you hope your phone would ring? Which was it?
I didn't expect it. I was already fielding calls because we're getting later in the 7th round, mid 7th round. I was already fielding calls from a lot of those teams I did workouts with, talking about coming in as a potential free agent. It was Tennessee, it was Cincinnati, it was San Diego, the Raiders at the time. I think there was maybe one other. And so that was a decision that I had to make pretty abruptly after. So because they call and they want to get you in as a free agent and do all that stuff. So there was no expectation. Now, I did get a call from Scott Pioli the morning of the draft, that day, on the final day of the draft. And I saw, I think it was a 508 area code, which is New England. And I pick it up, and it's Scott Pioli saying, hey, Matt, we really like you. Just want to let you know, if we do take a quarterback late, we're going to take you. But if not, we'd love to consider for you to consider us in free agency. And so I was like, wow, that's pretty profound that the GM of the New England Patriots actually called me to say they might. So I was hopeful, but at the end of the day, realistically, I thought, okay, this was just a phone call to let me know that they're very interested and want to potentially bring me in as a free agent.
Were you getting other calls, though, from those teams to where you didn't know if they were going to say, hey, we want you to be a free agent or we're going to draft you?
I mean, I was potentially hopeful that might happen because there was a few teams on that list that I just mentioned.
But if they called, were you like, I don't know if they're going to call to maybe draft me or free agent
100%.
me?
You're sitting there going,
Oh, free agent.
right.
Yeah.
It's like that build up, like maybe they're calling to maybe take me late.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you're sitting there going, oh, okay, you want me to come in as free agent? Thank you so much for calling. And then it's the waiting game. And then all of a sudden New England called. And I thought it might be something similar, but New England was, I think they were up next or the pick after. So that's when I was like, again, hopeful. And then it hit. And I was like, wow.
Where do you think, if you had to have been a free agent, based on where you were in your life at that point, where do you think you would have ended up?
Proximity to home, probably San Diego.
And who was there at the time? Rivers, Breeze?
I think that was Rivers. Rivers and Breeze were there, but Breeze and Rivers were both there. But again, free agent guy, like you're just trying to pick, you're not going in to compete for a starting position, but you knew at some point the dam was going to break between Breeze and Rivers because they drafted Rivers so high that they were going to move Breeze somewhere or something was going to happen. And so I felt like maybe I can work myself into a backup role there.
So by the time you guys hear this is going to have been news for a half a day, maybe even a day. But not only did we hear, I think yesterday, that Diego Pavia was going to go to rookie minicamp, but now the Ravens are signing former Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia.
Let's go, Diego.
To a 3-year deal. Pavia is supposed to try out this weekend, but the Ravens signed him in advance.
Signed him to a 3-year deal.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly what that means because there are no details.
Right.
Meaning 3 years, but you can cut him at any time.
Right.
3 years, like what's the signing bonus? Like that's the guaranteed money that he's going to make.
For sure.
But it's interesting that they've kind of changed because that's not even like free agent. We're offering him a deal right now.
Right. And that's an incredible deal for somebody that's going into free agency. Sometimes you have your like preferred free agents that maybe for some reason dropped in the draft, maybe had an injury, something like that, that they will sign guys to two-year, I have maybe 3-year deals. But that's few and far between. Most of these guys are coming in, will sign a rookie contract, but it's year to year. And it's probably similar for Diego. I'm sure there's no guarantees in this type of contract. The other part about it is, how do they envision him? Do they envision him fitting into a system as a quarterback? Or because he has a physical presence to him, but his body type doesn't fit the mold for a quarterback, are they trying to utilize him in maybe a different way? It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out.
I would assume because Lamar Jackson's not a big guy, he can play within that Ravens offense. Because I think they probably, and you would know this more than I would, I think they probably scheme against his height. I don't think he's 6'1", maybe 6 foot tall, right? Like Lamar Jackson's not a big quarterback. And Diego Pavia will be the shortest quarterback in the NFL, by the way.
Right. He will be. But at the same time, there is a system fit there because Diego Pavia, with the zone read, the ability to take off and run, schematically, you wouldn't have to change too much if Diego worked himself into a position to where he's a backup quarterback or something like that, where there's other guys that if you've got Lamar Jackson, you've got a 6'4" pocket passer, now you're changing the entirety of the offense and how you approach it, and that's a lot on an offensive coordinator to do. But there is something to be said that Diego ran probably something similar to what Lamar does in terms of putting the defense in conflict and playing 11-on-11 football because of all the abilities that he has to run the football.
I think I'm just fooled by the propaganda. It says Lamar Jackson 6'2", and so the fact that
6'4".
Lamar Jackson?
No, I don't know that. I just said that.
I wouldn't have thought he was 6'2" because they talk about him like he's so easily broken and small.
Yeah, I would have said 6 foot max probably.
I would have said that
said
too.
6 foot. I think he's taller than that.
It says he's 6'2". It also says Diego Pavia is 5'10". I'm gonna tell you, I don't know if that's true. So we're probably dealing with a 6'1" and a 5'9".
Well, he was in the roster or whatever it was. He was like 6'1" for Vandy.
Pavia?
Yeah, Pavia. I was like, with shoes on, with a little bit of a bump. But then they did it at the combine. They're like, yeah, he's 5'10". I was like,
Oh, did they give him 5'10" at the combine?
I think so. That's
I thought
where
they
that
gave him
comes from.
5'9.5".
Yeah, I see 5'9" and 7'8",
Oh, that's so close.
5'10" and 1/8.
Hey, round him up,
Yeah,
man.
Diego, you
Round
gotta
him
like
up.
fake tippy toe that stuff. Like you can't get your heel all the way off the ground. But
Oh, here we go. Yeah, sorry. Official combine height, 5'10" and 1/8.
okay,
Got
good
the
for
5'10"
him.
in there, baby.
5'10", that's what
That's like someone who gets their hand measured and it's really short and they go back the second time and all of a sudden it's grown because they've learned how to stretch themselves out.
Let's get a little extra inch.
You know, he hung upside down in the closet for like a day after he got that 5'9", just trying to grow.
Just so pissed off.
Jeremy Maclin coming up in just a little bit. So Jeremy Maclin, star at Mizzou. I'm supposed to hate Missouri. Arkansas's forced rival is Missouri.
Oh, is it the forced rival?
It's the forced rival. Not really our rival. I don't really think they consider us their rival. But
Is it because it's been so one-sided?
it's because the states border each other, and it's called the borderline rivalry. And they made
Ooh,
a trophy.
that's a good line. Good
Yeah.
line. What's the trophy?
The two states on top of each other.
Weak.
It's heavy. It's like 100 pounds.
I kind of like the Big Ten traditions of like the
buckets and stuff.
the pig,
Yeah.
and the buckets, the spittoon, the axe. They just have the most random stuff in the Big Ten.
Yeah, Mizzou has been a forced rivalry for us. The head coach at Mizzou is Eli Drinkwitz, who I like a lot. I'm not supposed to, but he grew up a diehard Razorback fan, season ticket holder.
Really?
Coached high school in Arkansas, yeah, and then made his way, but never played college football. He's one of those guys that started coaching as soon as he finished high school
Yeah.
and is like nerd smart. Mike Leach was similar to that, like kind of a different approach. So everything about him's different. He acts different. You either love him or you hate him. And most people that aren't them hate them because he definitely has like a nerd swagger to him.
Right.
But I really like him. Like
I think he's a hell of a football coach. He's built a great program there.
I'm a big fan. I was hosting for Rich Eisen once, and I had him on the show when I was hosting for Rich, and he comes on, and immediately he goes to, because I don't know how he got access to it, but he goes to how much that I've been donating to the University of Arkansas immediately. First thing he starts talking about.
He called you out.
Big time. He's like, I saw you donated this much money. I'm like, how did you find that out? He's like, we have access to that stuff. Like, called me out immediately on the show. So we'll talk to Jeremy Maclin coming up in just a few minutes. All right, what do you have? What is your lead?
A rarely used unrestricted free agent tender on Aaron Rodgers. Now, to wrap our head around it, we're going to bring in our expert, Kevin. Explain this, because you were trying to tell me what exactly this meant. And he's unrestricted, but they placed a tender on him.
Does it mean that whatever someone else offers them, the Steelers have the right to offer him as well?
Yeah, they have the first rights to him, and by July 22nd, he can negotiate, but they have the rights. And then if he signs with another team, they have to give the Steelers, that team who signs him, and if he agrees, has to give the Steelers a pick.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. So they put this tender on him. They have the right to match the offer. It's a 10% increase in last year's salary. But in addition to that, if the other team does decide to sign him, they've got to give up a pick.
This feels a bit like Lamar Jackson was offered up a couple years ago. They were like, hey, Lamar, you can be a free agent. Whatever anybody else offers you, we'll be.
Match it.
Yeah.
Or be, yeah. Yeah. But his is a lot. I mean, Aaron Rodgers only got paid $15 million last year.
$80. I read it was $80
Yeah.
next year.
Dude,
Yes.
is that crazy? I thought he was making way more than 15 last year. And for that caliber of player with his experience and to come and be the guy for your team, the going rate for starting quarterback in the NFL these days is wildly higher than that.
Yeah, but he's old. And it's not like he had any success with the Jets except for that back half of the second season. Granted, there was an Achilles tear.
Remember, he blew out his Achilles.
No, I know,
for
but I'm
sure.
saying, but there was no success there to pay him a bunch of money off of. I felt like last year was the year that he was going to kind of prove that he was still worth the money, but at the same time, you're still getting a year older while you're doing that. He's 61. Aaron Rodgers is
61,
Yeah,
still doing
61
it.
years
Still
old.
doing it at a high level. Still, and he's a decision maker. You know what? When he makes that decision, he goes.
He did look really good throwing the ball at times last year.
He was. I mean, he's still Aaron Rodgers. He still can sling it all over the yard.
Man, you know who's good old is LeBron.
Man, he's good. How does he do that, dude? I mean,
He's
I just know-
41. I don't know if you're
41,
going. The
running
games
the
are
clock.
late, so it's annoying sometimes that the Lakers play West Coast. But I've been trying to watch as much of that series as possible because they have no Luka, they have no Austin Reeves. I don't think Luka's anywhere near coming back. And LeBron's doing it all.
Yeah.
Game 4 was a pretty tough watch, but dude's 41 years old.
Yeah.
Like, it's been wild to watch LeBron. I think LeBron's the best basketball player ever. I thought that for a while. I think LeBron's the best basketball player ever.
There's all the arguments, right? It's Jordan, it's Kobe, it's LeBron. But LeBron, I think everybody's argument against LeBron is that, well, he went to a dream team when he went to Miami to start, but then he won one in Cleveland, and he's won one with the Lakers. They've stacked the cards around him every championship that he's won. But at the same time, if you go back and look at Jordan's teams during that dynasty,
Pippen's a Hall of Famer, top 50 all time.
Pippen,
Rodman, even like the Bill Cartwrights, the Will Purdue's, who were just big dudes.
Right, but they were a stacked team. It wasn't just all Michael Jordan.
Yeah, so LeBron is the best basketball player ever. And I say that as someone who got to experience Michael Jordan. Like, you probably didn't get Michael Jordan, did you?
No, I remember him more on the Wizards. That's what's
on the Wizards in the front office?
Playing.
Like, LeBron all-time leading scorer, and I think he'll end up top 3 all-time in assists.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's definitely the most athletic person of any sport I've ever seen.
Have you ever seen him play in person?
Yeah.
He is so big.
Yeah.
I mean, it's incredible, his movement abilities being that size. All those guys in the NBA, just from an athletic standpoint, it just blows my mind how skilled they are. But LeBron
cool.
in particular.
He's playing with his son in the playoffs, too, I got to say that.
Yeah,
as a LeBron and a Lakers hater, that is really cool.
I saw someone tweet out that LeBron created his own person to throw an alley-oop to. Because he threw one to Bronny, and Bronny caught it, kind of went under with the reverse layup. And it's like LeBron had to create his own person to throw an alley-oop to, which I thought was pretty funny. Why don't we break? We'll come back with Missouri great, Eagle, Chief, Raven, Jeremy Maclin. All right, let's bring in Jeremy Maclin, former Missouri star, first-round NFL draft pick, longtime NFL wide receiver with the Eagles, Chiefs, and Ravens, over 500 catches, more than 6,800 receiving yards, 49 touchdowns, and now he's got a podcast called True Sons, TRU, True Sons. You can listen wherever you get your podcasts. Jeremy, appreciate you joining us.
No, I appreciate you guys having me on, man.
Let me start with this. We were talking about the draft a second ago. Do you remember your call? Like who called you and what they said to you on draft day?
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of caught me off guard because it was the Philadelphia Eagles, and I hadn't talked to them the whole draft process. I guess I met with them at the combine, but no pre-draft visit, no other calls. Nobody called about questionnaires trying to find out kind of any background information. So, but yeah, man, that's something you never forget, right? I mean, it's it changes the whole landscape of what you got going on, man. But it was a pretty cool moment.
Who was it that called you, and what did he say?
At the time, it was Howie Roseman. Actually, I take that back. It was Joe Bannon. He called me. I also talked to Coach Reid, and I talked to Howie Roseman, all in that same sequence.
Talk to me about, you got to go and play for Coach Reid right off the jump as a rookie and throughout the early stages of your career. What is about Coach Reid's offense that when it's firing on all cylinders just makes it an incredible offense to not only play in, but also just to be able to excel at your position?
I mean, I think he's the best, one of the best to ever do it in creating mismatches, right? I think he does a good job of putting his playmakers in position to be successful, but also to have things in their favor. And I think it helps when you have good players. You go from Deshaun, myself, right? You go to Kansas City. I kind of follow him, but then you get Tyreek and some of these other guys, Travis Kelce. So, but I think he just does an awesome job of putting us in position to be successful. And I think there's no ego, right? There's no ego. There's no, hey, we have to do things a certain way. I think he's constantly evolving with the game. And I think now it definitely helps when you got probably the quarterback that's on the fastest track to the Hall of Fame than we've ever seen, right? So, but I just think he does a great job of putting his guys in position.
Cassel played with the Chiefs, and so we've talked about the fan base in Kansas City a little bit. What would you say the difference is, and can you feel it between the fan base in Philly and the fan base in Kansas City? Do they feel different?
Definitely. I mean, the environment is different. I think they're both special places. But I mean, they didn't say they didn't boo and throw snowballs at Santa Claus for no reason, right? In Philly. So, I mean, you definitely feel the difference. But I think they both create a very, very unique experience that I would argue are two of the best in the whole National Football League. And I'm fortunate enough to have played for both of them.
When you come into an organization like that and a fan base like that as a first rounder, do you feel the pressure immediately to perform at a high level right away?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, I'm not going to say it's just, in particular to just Philly. I think it's anywhere. But you definitely feel the pressures, not only from the fan base, but from yourself, right? But if you're not playing well, they're going to let you know about it, right? You're going to read the blogs, you're going to read, the sites. For a little bit, I had to get off of those things when I was in Philly early on, and so I learned how to not let those things affect me, because I had never. At least not that I've seen, I had never been talked about in a negative way before. I was called injury prone, which was odd because I was, on track to be one of the receivers who played the most. I was called soft and all these other things, and that kind of shut people up when I had my big year in Philly. So you definitely have to condition yourself to be able to handle some of those things. And kind of as you navigate your career, you kind of realize that at the end of the day, they just want to win, right? Maybe they don't always have the best delivery on how to tell you those type of things, but at the end of the day, fans just want to win. And as players for those certain fan bases, like you want to be able to do what you can to help deliver those wins. So
physically, what would you tell rookies coming in, like how to adjust and how to be ready for the NFL?
Honestly, I would say find a vet who's done it at a high level, who knows how to go about their business, whether it's how you take care of your bodies, whether it's what you do in the weight room. Things nowadays are a lot, you hear a lot of things about sports science and kind of bringing some of the science into, how to condition your bodies and kind of how to take care of your body. So that's a little bit different than when I played. But I would say find a vet, man, that's been in it, who understands how to do it, who's been able to, do it for a long time and be consistent. And really just kind of, grab onto them and kind of pick their brains, not only about things that they do on the field, but things they do off the field as well.
What do you think for these wide receivers in the league today that separates elite wide receiver play versus good wide receiver play? And is there something that you could point to and say it's route running, it's route recognition, it's defensive recognition? I'm interested to hear from your perspective.
I mean, I think there's so many different ways you can look at it, right? I think sometimes you got guys that are just physical freaks, that can go out there and do things that just physically nobody else can do. You can definitely see certain guys who may be better at running routes, who may be better at winning contested balls, who may be better at the line of scrimmage or releasing, maybe better at getting in and out of breaks. I think a lot of the times good from elite sometimes is just target share. Sometimes it's how many times you're getting the ball thrown your way, right? As good as Jamar Chase is, and I would arguably say he's a top 2 receiver in the league, it definitely helps, man. When you're getting, you can say something the next game, you're getting 25 targets, you know what I mean? And in today's game, he may deserve that. So I'm not throwing any shade on him for that, but I think a lot of times, man, when you get to the best of the best, sometimes it's target share, and sometimes it's about, your opportunities and what you're able to do with those targets and, how frequent those targets come.
Was that a conversation that you ever had to have even behind closed doors of, hey, I think I need the ball a little more?
I think the way I played the game, and I always wanted to be a complete football player. So I always, it didn't matter, kind of what was going on throughout the course of the game. I was going to play my hardest. Were there times where I was upset, where I didn't get the ball? Absolutely. But it never affected the way I played the game. My big thing was, it was kind of if the OC, if I wasn't in the mind of the OC to try to get the ball in my hands, I think that's where my issues came into play. But if he called plays that were supposed to go my way, and for whatever reason, maybe he missed me, or maybe there was a different coverage, or maybe we got pressure, or hell, maybe I didn't get open, right? Then as a receiver, you can't be mad about that, right? Hey, he tried to get you the ball. You were at the forefront of his mind. Things just didn't work out. But it's no secret. Every receiver likes the ball. Every receiver wants to be involved. But yeah, that was kind of how I approached it.
During your career, you played with some really good quarterbacks. You had Donovan McNabb, Michael Vick, Alex Smith, Joe Flacco. Of all those quarterbacks, which one threw the most receiver-friendly, catchable ball?
I think the guy that threw the most receiver-friendly, catchable ball is Alex Smith. I love Lawrence, man. He's a great competitor. I think he's extremely underrated. I think my favorite quarterback you didn't even name was Nick Foles. Me and Nick had a pretty good relationship. We're on a pretty good historic pace. The year before he broke his collarbone, we just had things clicking, and I think still to this day. I got no gripe against any of the quarterbacks I play with. I'm appreciative of all of them, but I think that my favorite was Nick Foles.
Now that you're the head coach of your alma mater, I see your hoodie on there now, Kirkwood. When you're doing position breakouts, are you going with the quarterbacks who's the head coach, or are you going with the receivers?
A little bit of everything. I float, man. So I am the offensive coordinator. So I run our group offensive meetings. But when we break down, there's sometimes I'm in there with the receivers. There's a lot of times I'm in there with the O-line, right? That was one of the things that I had to learn when I got back to high school was offensive line play at the high school level. Because where I just came from, I'm used to Jason Kelsey being able to snap the ball and be the first puller out. Or I'm used to, certain guys being able to handle these guys one-on-one. And in high school, it's a completely different game. You kind of got to, be a little more strategic, especially up front offensively. I feel like defensive lines at the high school level are a little more advanced, not because of schematics, but just because, hey, they don't have to be as technical. I can just kind of bulldoze you. I can, speed move you, whatever the case may be. So it was learning the offensive line for me at the high school level.
What made you want to go back and coach high school football? Obviously, with the wealth of knowledge that you have, that you can make a major impact, but why the decision to be a head coach?
I knew I wanted to coach. In what capacity, at what level, I didn't really know. I had some chances to do some stuff in college. I had some chances to do some stuff in the league. Those opportunities still come every now and then. When I got back here, my little cousin was a senior here at my alma mater, and it was a chance for me to coach him. And ironically, he just signed a free agent deal with the Bills, so good luck to him next weekend. But I just knew I wanted to coach, and being able to do it, at the, where I'm from. I walk these same halls. I live in some of these same neighborhood as some of these kids. There's no better feeling. I feel like I'm supposed to be home, and I feel like this is my purpose.
Is there a lot of teaching that you do to your you coach you're your offensive coordinator, but like your defensive coordinator, like your other position, your skill position coaches, because you play in the league, they also want to know from you?
They ask a lot of questions, especially my receiver coach. I feel like him and I have a really good relationship. Constantly talking, constantly bouncing ideas off of each other. He's constantly picking my brain. Really cool moment the other week. My little cousin was here kind of working with the receivers, just giving them some pointers. But yeah, man, I think a lot of the times, especially the old head coach, when I first started, I was just a volunteer receiver coach. But he wanted to know more about the stories. He wanted to know more about the guys that I played with, who was the goofiest, who was the craziest, what's the craziest NFL story you had. But yeah, man, just constantly, I'm able to, kind of share my knowledge, but I trust my staff. I got 3 former head coaches on my staff. We got close to 200 years of experience, damn near. So it's a pretty good group that I have.
The question that he asked about the craziest NFL story you have, do you have it on the top of your brain? Because I kind of want to hear this.
Man,
yes.
That's appropriate to share.
Hey, inappropriate, appropriate, whatever's on your mind, spit it.
So here's the deal. So this didn't happen to me, right? But it you remember so when the XFL became like a thing, you guys remember He Hate Me?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it would be like so I couldn't believe this. So I get to Philly, I'm a rookie, and I'm sitting in the training room and the trainers are talking and they're talking about just crazy things that have happened, right? So he did 2 crazy things. One of them, I guess Philly plays the Panthers in a divisional playoff game. At this time, he's not a part of the team. I actually think he's signed to a different team. Somehow, some way, he had made his way onto the Eagles sideline. He had an Eagles coat on, and they end up beating the Panthers. and he's running around celebrating, talking about hey, we did it, right? Runs up home, Mr. Lurie, right? So he's a part of the big celebration. He's not even a part of the team, right? And all that other stuff. I just see that how that happens, right? You got all that security on the sideline. How does a guy who has nothing to do with the organization makes his way back to the sideline?
On you guys' podcast, you talk college football a lot, especially in Missouri. If you could fix, I don't want to say change, but if you could fix something within college football right now, but you get one fix only, what do you do?
That's not a fair question, man. There's a lot. I would say there needs to be a cap on the number of years for eligibility, or I think kind of hand in hand, I think there needs to be a salary cap on NIL.
Because with no cap, it allows the big dogs to get even bigger.
Yeah, the big dogs are getting bigger, and even still, right? Like even with what they are talking about, it's on the brink of college ball with the everybody opting in and having kind of what we're talking about, like this salary cap. How do you regulate a dealership wanting to give somebody an endorsement deal and paying them X amount of dollars? Right. So I just think there's so much, right, that you have to fix. I think those two would be a start. But I think there's just so much you got to fix.
How much money do you think you would have made in NIL money when you were in college based on all your accolades and achievements?
Are we present day or are we talking about
we're present day?
Present day.
Yeah, present day.
Yeah. Jeremy Maclin, All-American, sitting there. They're saying, hey, what's it going to take to bring you back for one more year?
For what I did and who I was to that football team, I'm not saying that I'm as good of a prospect as Jeremiah Smith. I think if he's getting top dollar, I think that's kind of where I probably would have been at.
Why did you go to Missouri? Like why? Because you could have really gone anywhere, but why'd you go to Missouri?
In-state school. I think they showed me what I was looking for. I wanted a family environment. I wanted a place where I was going to feel kind of at home, away from home. For those who don't know, I was committed to the University of Oklahoma to start. And then my receiver coach ended up going to the National Football League. So that was kind of my way out of it. And Mizzou just kind of stayed constant, right? Coach Pinkles was that staff that he put together and kind of the way that they had things going, it just made a lot of sense for me. And I kind of wanted to be a part of that turnaround. And I saw it on the brink, and I was able to come in and help that turnaround.
Yeah, when you look at Missouri today and the program that Eli Drinkwitz has built, are you a proud alumni of what's going on there and the success that they've had?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think they have the right guy for the job too. I think Drink has done a heck of a job. Me being in the high school game, I think he's done a heck of a job in the state of Missouri recruiting. And I think that was kind of probably what was missing. I think there was too many good players getting out of the state of Missouri. And I think he's kind of closed that gap a little bit. Now, when you sit up there, you look at Jeremiah Love, who's from, St. Louis. I played against him, and you see him go to Notre Dame and things like that. I think those things still hurt a little bit, but I think he's definitely done a really good job of keeping those high-profile guys at Mizzou, and I think you're seeing a result of that kind of on the collegiate level. Now we got to win the bigger games, right? We got to win the close games against the good teams, right? You got to beat Alabama, you got to beat Oklahoma, you got to beat Vandy, you got to beat Texas and some of those teams that are in the SEC. So Georgia, I think that's the next step, right? We've been in those games, we've been in situations to do that. Right now, we got to get over that hump.
On you guys' podcast, how much you talk college football? How much you talk your career? Like, what do you guys do?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. Like you said earlier, podcast is True Sons with the U, and we just talk about it's Mizzou based, but we talk about kind of what's going on in college ball. We talked about what's going on in the NFL. We touch on sports in general, in particular football. And then we kind of get into, kind of what we do, kind of personally, kind of our stories, kind of how we became who we are and kind of what we represent. But kind of do a little bit of everything. I think every week, kind of touch on things that are relevant and kind of what's happening now too. But yeah, man, I think if you want a good podcast to listen to talking about college sports in particular, college football with kind of a Mizzou twist to it, I think that's the one to listen to.
I mean, I look at Mizzou, especially over these last 15 years, and it's been a feeder program for the NFL. You've got some dudes at Mizzou year in, year out that are making it to the NFL, making an impact on NFL rosters. Talk to me about why, when the outside perspective might look at Mizzou as a little bit different. If you were to recruit somebody like a 5-star kid and you want them to come to Mizzou, what would you tell them about the school to bring them in? What's your selling point?
Well, I think first and foremost, they're gonna love you, right? They are going to treat you how you should be treated. And I say that because, like, you've heard stories about kids going to other places and feeling like they're just a part of something, not necessarily really feeling like they're valued at where they are. And I think Mizzou is going to help you do that. I think Mizzou's constantly pushing the needle in the right direction, right? I think we're constantly, bringing new things to Columbia. I think it's a growing city. I think, the resources are growing. I think, we're right on the brink of doing something special and being able to compete year in and year out, on a national level. And I think, you can be that 5-star, like you just said, that 5-star that helps us do that. You look at what Signetti did last year at Indiana, who I think people say over the last decade was historically one of the worst programs. All it takes is the right guy, man, and the right guys behind him, man, and you can make it happen in today's game. And I think, like I say, Mizzou has the resources to do that. But like it's a special place, right? It's hard to say it because not very many people have been in Columbia, Missouri, right? But man, game days, the fan support, just everything that's kind of going around in Columbia, man, it's all pointed in the right direction.
Jeremy, really appreciate the time and hope everybody checks out True Sons. It's TRU, True Sons Podcast. Yeah, good luck with your team, and appreciate you spending some time with us here today.
No, I appreciate you guys, man, for having me.
All right, there's a story of this high school baseball team, and they had the choice of go play in a playoff game or go to prom.
Tell me they went and played in. Oh, gosh, it's tough.
It's tough. You only get one prom.
So they decided to go to prom.
Most of them did, yeah. The good ones, especially like the good pitcher, the really good pitcher. So West Nassau lost its high school baseball playoff game to Sewanee in only 5 innings. They got crushed because they did not have the players. The Warriors were without a good chunk of their roster because of prom. A majority of the upperclassmen on the team chose not to play. This sucks for the people that made that schedule.
Right. Could we just make an adjustment and go, hey, let's do it on the next day or the day before?
Got one better. Let's do it at 2 p.m. There were times in my scholastic career where something would happen in the evening. They would move a game, and would it bump right up against school? Yeah, but it didn't happen often, but it did happen a couple times.
Right.
It sucks they couldn't do a 2 or 3 p.m. game, be out by 5, and still go to prom. But the schedule makers in the state of Florida failed the athletes. This is according to Bro Bible. And so they have about 1,000 students, 9 through 12. It's in Callahan, Florida, which is the northwesternmost corner of the state, right near the Georgia border. The Warriors compete in the Class 3A level. Now, the reason I think probably some of the kids decided not to play in the playoff game is they just barely were good enough to make the playoffs anyway. I think if you're a real contender, you think about it differently. If you're a team that's around 500, which is what they were, and it's prom versus you're probably going to lose anyway. Or if you do win, it's probably one more game max.
You're like, oh, we're probably not going to go, guys. I mean, let's be honest.
So I think that's probably what made that decision a little easier.
It's not an easy decision because no matter how you do it, you're letting down the teammates that you played with all season. And at the same time, if you make the decision to play, you end up losing and you miss out on prom. Well, that also sucks because that's a life experience that you take memories away for the rest of your life. So
it's mostly 10th graders that played. I was looking at the picture on Instagram. Or maybe it was Twitter.
If you're a junior, though, you're a little more intrigued to play, right? Because you have another year to go to prom.
Right, you got another year. You're like, dude, I'm not passing up on this party fest. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. They were just okay.
Yeah.
If they were a good team and they had a real shot, I think you'd have probably seen even the upperclassmen stay and not go to prom. But again, because they were just barely right at 500, You're at your ceiling already going to the playoffs. And what a great way to say how you lost the playoffs. Yeah, who knows? We could have won state, but we went to prom.
You had a built-in excuse, guys.
Yeah.
We had prom. I'm sorry. They messed up the scheduling. It's not our fault. It's their fault.
The best pitcher on the team, Fisher Bennett, he finished the regular season with a 0.94 ERA.
Oh, wow.
And he went to prom, as did a number of his
He might
teammates.
have been able to help the team win with a 0.94.
Yeah, but then he won't be able to throw the next day, and they're probably going to lose that one. Anyway, justice for the team. The schedule makers let them down.
Let them down. Let them down. Did you hear this story about this ex-Alabama defensive tackle that pleaded guilty for impersonating NFL players? It's a wild story.
Yeah, was he Alabama defensive tackle?
Alabama. But the audacity this guy had, I think his name was Luther Davis. He's 37-year-old. Pled guilty in federal court in Atlanta, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, 1 count of aggravated identity theft. C.J. Evans, 29, also was accused of executing the scheme with Davis. He went in and impersonated Michael Penix Jr., David Njoku, Xavier McKinney for Green Bay. And then it also says that he would wear wigs, makeup, do-rags, all these things to defraud these people for money. It was wild. And who comes up with that type of elaborate scheme and tries to execute it and not think that they're going to get caught?
It's weird that he can impersonate a quarterback, David Njoku, and a defensive tackle. Like,
Yeah.
what size are you, and who's falling for this?
Tight end and safety.
If you think Michael Penix is this former defensive tackle, like I didn't know how big the guy is impersonating people. He must be going to people that know nothing about football.
And also, are you profiling them and saying, I kind of look like him. I think if I put on this, it might give the impression that I am him. And
You go on a jersey.
I mean, that's wild to think about that. But he was getting away with it for a long time.
The Coachella Music Fest, somebody went in and posed as Justin Bieber's team and stole a bunch of golf carts. You guys see that?
No.
They just drove off with all of them. They put them on a trailer and drove off. Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, if you have confidence, you can pretty much get and do anything.
For Justin Bieber's team, we need a few golf carts. Okay, boom, trailer's there, out.
Yeah, I'm going to type in Justin Bieber Coachella golf cart theft.
Yes.
Here we go. Because for sure this happened. Newport Beach business scammed by phony Bieber staff who claimed the pop star needed rentals for Coachella and they drove them to Mexico. This is from the New York Post. A Newport Beach rental company says it's been left reeling after 4 of its compact Moki-style buggies, worth more than $200,000 altogether, vanished in what was an orchestrated scam tied to pop star Justin Bieber. He had nothing to do with it. But yeah, a guy went in, identified himself as Alan, said he worked with Bieber and to shuffle Justin Bieber, and they said, all right, everything seemed to check out. So they gave them to him, and they look like little mini Jeeps. Have you guys seen them? So they're able to travel around in places like golf carts, but they look like small Jeeps. If you do MOKE, but they stole 4 of them, and they put them up on a trailer and drove them right off. It's crazy.
Those are legit.
No, they're cool, right? You can't drive them on the
I
road.
haven't seen them.
Yeah, but if like you're in like a fancy beach town, this is like what would be driving around.
Yeah, I was gonna say this screams Newport Beach.
This is for sure what Bobby rents anytime he goes to the beach.
I don't go to
Oh, wow. It's like a kid's car. That's definitely the one Bobby drives with the
pink one?
Yeah.
The
Just
Barbie mobile?
Oh, the Barbie mobile?
Yeah.
My kids would love that. Kidding me?
Yeah, you just can't use it really here. I thought about getting a 4-wheeler here, just drive around the property, but then what am I going to do?
I've got a Ranger.
You have bigger property than I do.
Yeah, it's a blast. That's how I teach the kids how to drive.
You're on probably acreage, real acreage.
30 something.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to flex that. But
30 something.
must be nice.
What? You asked me, right? Did you? Or
I
you
didn't.
said,
I said you're on some acreage.
Every now and then, you guys got to throw.
No, that's nice.
Yeah, 30 plus.
Must be nice to be Matt Cassel. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I just get to drive my Ranger around it.
That's it. Again, thanks to Jeremy. Thanks to Matt Cassel. Thanks to Kickoff Kevin. Thanks to Brandon Ray. Thanks to you guys for listening. I'm Bobby Bones. We have had lots to say. Goodbye, everybody.